Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of my 21 road cycling season review. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about my moments of the men's cycling season. In at number 5, we have the return to winning ways of Mark Cavendish and Fabio Jacobson. Both for different reasons. They both probably didn't expect to win anything this year or place highly. Jacobson obviously had that crash in the Tour of Poland that last year that nearly killed him, and Cavendish has had a poor couple of years in terms of glandular fever and a complete lack of confidence. We'll start with Fabio Jacobson, who returned to racing in the Tour of Turkey. He admitted that he was a bit worried about riding back in the bunch, and that's perfectly understandable. So the first sort of Turkey, Algarve, and Dauphiné, he was just settling himself back into the swing of riding into the bunch. And then in July at the Tour de Wallon, he went for the sprints and he got 2 wins. He got 2 fantastic stage wins, one in Zolder, including in the circuit. So it was fantastic to see him back to winning ways. And to be honest, that would have been enough for us to see that he can fight for wins again. But that wasn't enough for him. He went into La Vuelta a España and, along with Jasper Philipsen, dominated the sprints. He got 2 second places and he got 3 stage wins. He took the points jersey and it was just, yeah, arguably he was better than he was before the crash. So weird to say, but maybe that sort of crash was a little bit of a blessing in disguise for him. So, and now he's back to winning ways. He finished it off with 2 smaller wins in Belgium as well. Mark Cavendish now. He, again, as we said, glandular fever and confidence looked to be getting the better of him. So he was struggling to find a contract after a year at Bahrain. Quickstep took him on for a low salary or nothing, with bonuses being the main aim. And Cav, we all know, has loved being at Quickstep, so he's where he got loads of his tour stage wins. So being back home for him probably felt quite good. And you could tell straight away, Copia Bartoli and a few of the smaller Belgian classics, he picked up podium results. Then, same race, Jacobson returned in Turkey. We saw Cav finish 4th in the first stage, and then stage 2, he beat Jasper Philipsen in a sprint to claim his first win in a few years. Philipsen, obviously, we know has been a good sprinter this year, one of the best, so great to see Cav take him on. Picked up 4 wins in Turkey and then a win in the Baloise Belgium Tour. Still, he wasn't going to the Tour at that point, so it was sort of good to see him back, but he wasn't going to go to the Tour. But then Bennett obviously, succumbed to his knee injury and his spat with the brilliantly stupid Patrick Lefevere. So, Cav went to the Tour and he repaid Patrick Lefevere back in spades. Stage 4, he picked up his first stage win at the Tour for a long time. In emotional scenes, I don't imagine there'd be many dry eyes if you're a Cav fan. He won in Châteauroux, he won in Valence, and then he equalled Eddy Merckx's record in Carcassonne on stage 13. Only denied by the Belgians of Philipsen and Van Aert in Champs-Élysées to break Eddy Merckx's record. But the consolation was taking home his second ever points classification win. Ended the season with another win in Germany and capped off a amazing return to winning ways for Mark Cavendish and Fabio Jacobson as well. In at number 4 we have Egan Bernal's comeback win at the Giro d'Italia, but also his whole season was brilliant as well. Good in a domestique role in Bessèges. He finished second but third behind Sousa and Alaphilippe in Provence, second in Trofeo Lerguani, and podiumed in Strade Bianche behind Van der Poel and Alaphilippe, which would have been in somewhat a recon for the gravel stage of the Giro. He then went to Tirreno and finished fourth, including fifth on that very wet day that Van der Poel decided to attack 50k out from the line. And all in all, a good start to the season to show that Egan has some life left in him as a rider. Didn't race before the Giro and went into it with complete unknown again. He felt his back at Tirreno, so we weren't sure what to expect. But what we saw, particularly in the first 2.5 weeks, was a dominant, composed, and aggressive Egan Bernal. 11th at Sestola, second at San Giacomo. He was the only consistent GC rider up there. Ciccone was up there one day, Remco Evenepoel was up there another, Landa was up there on Sestola, but then crashed. So we came to the first sort of gravelly finish, rather, not stage, Capo Felice, and Gianni Moscon did a fantastic job, and Bernal won his first stage win. What followed was a Ineos show of dominance on the Montalcino gravel stage. Ganna led them out superbly into the first load of sectors, then Moscon took over, all while Martinez was in the background. Fourth at Montezoncolan and winning the stage to Cortina, not that we saw any of that, showed that Bernal was close to, on the cusp of winning his first Giro, his second Grand Tour and all. Day after on stage 17, we saw a little chink in the armour. We didn't know whether it was his back or he just had a bad day. Turns out it was a bad day. He lost over a minute to Simon Yates, who closed that gap to the Maglia Rosa. But it was just a bad day. Second and third on the final 2 mountain stages really sealed the win. Also taking the young riders as well in what was a show of dominance, showing that Egan Bernal is back and he can potentially challenge the Slovenians at the Tour de France. The Frenchman would probably describe his season as a mixed bag, but mostly succumbing to the abilities of Van der Poel and Van Aert. Second at Strade Bianche. He was second behind Pogacar at Liège-Bastogne-Liège as well. Winning Flèche Wallonne and the stage of Tirreno were the only real things he had going leading into the Tour. And then he went and destroyed the field in the first stage of the Tour de France, taking a fantastic yellow jersey in the World Champions jersey. Odd to say. What followed was an inconsistent Tour de France. He was good in the first few days, was then trying to get into breakaways, and those breakaways never quite succeeded, or he just had stronger riders ahead of him. So going into his final goal, we didn't really know what sort of Alaphilippe to expect. He was consistently up there at the Tour of Britain, but was always beaten by the likes of Hayter and Van Aert. So going into the Worlds, we knew he had to be special in order to beat Van Aert. And what we got was, not just from him, but from the whole French team, was just a show of how you can take on the favourite team. Because Belgium were the massive favourites for that win. And Alaphilippe and the French took them on. Turgis and Cosnefroy were attacking left, right, and centre inside the final 200k, which you knew would draw out the Belgians, and it drew out a certain Remco. And then on the Smearsberg, on the final time, Alaphilippe hit the group hard. Yes, they managed to close the gap, but it was a sign that the likes of Van Aert and Van der Poel weren't necessarily in the form capable to challenge Alaphilippe for the win. Onto the circuits with a lap to go. Alaphilippe decided to hit the penultimate cobbled section of the St. Antoinosberg. He hit it hard. He dropped everyone. There was a small group containing none of the pre-race favourites chasing, and despite it getting within 5 to 10 seconds, he managed to secure what was an incredible win, and that win alone will make up for his potentially poor season this year. Since he burst onto the scene, winning Amstel and Dwadors Vlaanderen in 2019, we can't go a season without Van der Poel doing something crazy or mildly stupid. For example, his 80k attacking Kuhne Brussels Kuhne that very nearly came off, his thermonuclear win at Strade Bianche, or his 50k solo in the wet and cold of Tirreno Adriatico. However, what strikes me as his biggest achievement this year, and probably of his career, is the manner in which he took the maillot jaune at this year's Tour de France. He finished 20th on day one when he was wearing the Merci Poupou in honour of his grandfather, the eternal second Raymond Poulidor. So he knew going on to the Mur de Bretagne he had to do something very special. And very special is what he did. He attacked on the first time up the Mur de Bretagne. We all thought, what on earth is he doing? He's a lunatic going for the stage win this far out. But as it was, that's not what he was going for. He wanted those bonus seconds to try and give him the jersey. He knew that, and he went and took them. And so did Pogacar and Roglic behind, which meant Alaphilippe didn't get any bonus seconds at that time. I think it was 8 seconds or something, which meant he had about 10 to close. So all he needed to do was win the stage and maybe get a second or two with Alaphilippe behind. So he took the bonus seconds, and going into the final time up the Mur de Bretagne to the finish, Quintana attacked, Colbrelli attacked, and now Ineos was setting the pace from the bottom. And the one rider that was first to respond to all of the moves was Van der Poel. With about 800 meters to go, he looked behind him, saw Alaphilippe was sort of nowhere to be seen, in a bit of nowhere, no man's land, and he attacked. He attacked hard, took the jersey, took the stage, and emotional scenes around the world, but mainly around France and the Netherlands, would have rung out. He did something his grandfather never did, and it was beautiful to watch the manner in which he did it. Only Van der Poel would be able to do something that crazy in one stage. Yes, the other riders can do things crazy, but that's over a couple of weeks, not just a target and just achieve it like Mathieu van der Poel. And the winner of my moments of the men's calendar can only really go to one rider, and that is Tadej Pogacar. He became the first rider since Bernardino to win Lombardia and the Tour in the same year. He became the first man since Eddie Merckx to win a Grand Tour and 2 monuments this season, as well as his just dominance in most races he went to. He won the UAE Tour, he won Tirreno. The only blots on his record this year was 7th at Strade Bianche, 3rd at the Basque Country, and the national titles and the Europeans and the World Championships. Yeah, everything else he was just ridiculous. He won Liège in a sprint against Philippe and David Gaudu. Then he dominated the Tour like we've not seen for a few years in just crazy fashion to win that race. And then he went and won Lombardia to complete the madness with an attack on the final hard climb of the day. Yes, he was caught by Masnada, but he always knew he was going to win the sprint. Pogacar is clearly the best GC rider, but he's also the best hilly classics rider at the moment. And who would be surprised to see him win 4 or 5, 6 tours in a row and 4 or 5 Lombardia and Lièges in a row? This kid can just do it all. So there we go. Congrats to Tadej Pogacar for winning my Moments of the Year award. Such a prestigious trophy. It's bigger than the Tour. I hope I hope you enjoy the video, and I hope you're enjoying my series of reviewing the cycling season. It's been a mad one, and I'll see you next time when I'll share my top moments of the women's cycling season.